Who directed that? And I always feel weird saying, and we'll take your questions now, but that's exactly what we will do. Don't everybody ask a question. Wait, let's enjoy the uncomfortable moment when nobody puts their hands up. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The way I shot was so interesting. For the last song, it just felt so perfectly choreographed. I was wondering how much planning went into that, whether there was no storyboarding or...
No storyboarding at all. Can I just say how excited I am to be on stage next to John Darnielle in front of me? This is probably the first and last time in my life I'll be on the stage in front of a microphone.
Teach you to play tambourine and stuff.
Get my fur knee-high boots. There wasn't any storyboarding that took place. It was all pretty much improvised in terms of what the camera did. We has a really lightweight camera. We just shot with the Panasonic. I don't know what the model number, but it's their HDB camera. And basically, I operated, and my buddy Todd worked the dolly, and we worked out hand movements so that we could do it on the fly and silently. What I did do, John had given me the album sometime before, and I just listened to the album over and over, and so I really knew the songs really well. And so I just kind of wrote them as best I could. But mainly for me, it was, I was just coming at this as a fan of John's, as a Mountain Goats fan. For me, the filmmaking is pretty rudimentary. It was all about just trying to capture what it's like to see John perform live and try and not get in the way of that as much as possible.
I don't mean to make this a mutual handjob fest with Ryan, but it's like, seriously, like for me, it's like the whole idea is like, wow, if Ryan filmed it, it would like bring some dignity to the whole proceeding. It's like, and so, yeah, I mean, it's an honor to work with Ryan. He's really amazing. So. Yeah.
I know you've said that you understand why people like bootlegs, but you yourself wouldn't really be into listening to something. You'd rather be there live.
Right.
So besides wanting to give him that...
well, this is a very different thing. There's no audience, right? Okay. And so and I've had this idea for a while. I had it like a couple albums ago. I thought it'd be interesting to play a whole record with no audience and have it shot. And the idea sat there in my brain for a while, and then me being me and kind of obsessive, I thought, well, how could you get maybe a small audience, but you couldn't trust any of them not to tape it because the first person to tape something would be a total hero, so how would you do that? And then when this album came along, my first idea for this was like to shoot it at like a Unitarian church or some church where they would let you shoot and make everybody change into robes on the way in. And then I thought, fortunately, I had time to chew this idea over before I presented it to the public. Basically, what would have amounted to cult propaganda. And so yeah, but I mean, it's different. And the thing is, like, my opinions about bootlegs and stuff like that, that's just some schmo jabbing. Like, any opinion I have outside of the songs I make is not, if I speak with authority, it's just because I'm a blowhard, it's like the stuff I have to say about that shouldn't be any more interesting to anybody than their own opinions, I feel. Yeah?
I mean, I know you're from there and you went to school there, but why did you pick Clermont to do it? Did you just have to be in that area? Was it always your mind you wanted to go back?
I wanted to go back there. I wanted Rachel to sing, and she lives out there, and she's not in the fly around and do stuff world. But that particular building, there's a thanks at the end to Yvonne Gordon, and she was my piano teacher when I was 8 and 9 in Clermont. And that building, the Thatcher Music Building, is where I performed with the State Examiner when I was a little good at piano, actually, unlike today. But yeah, so I thought it would bring some kind of I'm a big believer in places, and so I thought it would bring some kind of emotional intensity to bear on it, but actually it made me really super nervous. It was weird to be home, because I don't live there anymore, and so, but it was that's why.
Explain the biblical stuff this way on.
I want to hear this.
Well, it varies from song to song. Some of it is a jumping off point. Sometimes after the fact I'd write a song and I knew I was writing all these songs that were focused around there. I would go digging to find something. But I mean, for example, Matthew 25:27. This is a song for my mother-in-law about when she was dying last year, and it was hard times. If you've lost somebody to cancer, you know there's like nothing really like that. It's a terrible thing, but it's this occasion to really take stock of the relationships within your family, and that's a famous verse that born-agains use to proselytize the idea that if you live the right sort of life, at the end of it, God will say to you, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant," right? And that's a beautiful idea. That's a wonderful idea. And if I were a believer, I would hope that Nancy, my mother-in-law, would have heard something like that, because she lived such a great life. So there's that. But on the other hand, there's Enoch 18:14, which is from an apocryphal book where, it's one of those books that has all these bizarre images running this way and that. And I had written this song whose chorus, "Don't Tell Anybody," is from a video game, and it was also a very bizarre sort of thing. It was this strange cosmology, and so I wanted to link that to this apocryphal book. So it varies from song to song. I'm kind of an inveterate Bible reader. I mean, I like a lot of sacred texts, but I keep coming back to the Bible. I really enjoy it. I think it's kind of a shame that it has as much political baggage. I mean, it has to, because it's the dominant religion that was used to crush so many good people over the centuries. But it's also a source of a lot of comfort and beauty and riches, and it's something that I'm kind of into. So, but it varies from song to song.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Enoch actually the very first song on there? It's now taken from the Bible. It's also now taken from the album. Is there a studio version that you recorded of it?
Yeah, I think I can't keep track of now. When you put out an album, you have to give everybody has to have a little bonus track somewhere. You have to give one to Amazon. You have to give one to iTunes and all that, and it's on one of those. So it's out there. The version we came up with has got Worcester playing drums in the middle section. It's kind of interesting. So. But I like that version, actually. I feel like that's the platonic ideal of that song. I thought that really came out really nice. Yeah?
It seems like your albums are getting more explicitly autobiographical as you go along.
So it seems.
Is that something intentional, or do you just feel compelled to do that as you go along? Well, for one thing, there was autobiographical stuff in those earlier ones that I would just cloak and bury, because you feel a little, I mean, it's like, seriously, where I grew up, when I grew up, the idea of standing in front of an audience with a guitar and going, "Here's something about me," right? It's really ripe, that's what the dudes do at parties to get laid, is play some song about their feelings, and I didn't want any part of that scene, But occasionally there would be stuff that was really just, a New Star song in Beautiful Rat Sunset. That's the story of the night I spent in Reading, waiting between a train and a bus. But I cloaked it under other stuff. But I don't do anything programmatically. I don't sit down and say, now I will write an autobiographical song, or now I'll write this kind of song. Usually what happens is I'll get a stray phrase, and I'll just build from there. And if I happen to write or say something that comes from an autobiographical place and it resonates with me, then I want to follow it, but I don't, there's no guile in it. I haven't decided to write autobiography. It sort of happened that way. Yeah?
Do you feel like markedly different writing a song for a piano as opposed to a guitar? It seems like your tone and your reaction to it changes.
Say the second half again?
It seems like when you write for the piano as opposed to the guitar, your tone and your reaction changes.
I think, there's a couple things in play there. I mean, one is that I have some training on the piano, right? And on the guitar, even though I've been doing it a while now and I know something about it, I am a child with finger paints on the guitar. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm self-taught, and there's a whole primitive thing there. But the other thing is that when I came back to playing the piano, it was the Peel session for the Sunset Tree before the Sunset Tree was a thing. I sat down and played dance music. I think that was the only one on that session that had piano, I forget. But then in the album, I played Dino Bodies and Bones. So this sort of set up the piano in a certain emotional way for me, that I was playing these songs that were from this sort of delicate place, painful place, and then when I finally got a little digital piano in my house, I was going through some very heavy health stuff, and I sat down and played, and it was really, I hate this word, I hate it when interviewers ask me whether writing is therapeutic, right? But it was, and so I think when I sit down at the piano, there's just a whole different chain of stuff going on for me, and it's got a different feeling. So I think it dictates a different. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the idea behind the different order of tracks as opposed to on the album?
I sat down to put them together, and for one thing, I wanted to play Enoch, and Enoch didn't really belong on the album, and so that had to rearrange the whole thing, and I just thought it would be interesting, because one thing, when you're sequencing a record, you are faced with not infinite possibilities, but enough possibilities that it might as well be infinite. You know, and you always wonder how the album might have gone over with people, how they might have reacted differently if you'd gone with a different sequence, right? And I really strongly think that what people hear first and how they hear it first has a big effect on how they wind up thinking of it. And so I thought this was an opportunity to look at a different sequence. Yeah.
You are prolific. When I say certainly have a lot of albums under your belt, when you do something like this that has a unified theme throughout to a degree, do you look back on your previous work and see similar things popping up? Do you see, like, for instance, the Alpha Family or something like that as an Adam and Eve? Or would you look back and see a comparison between your current work and previous work?
And to be honest, I don't think about old work hardly at all. It's like I'm always just focused, like even now, I have a new record coming out, but I have 6 new songs, and those are foremost in my mind right now. It's like, what are those turning out to be, you know? And it's like, so my focus is always on whatever's going on, and I think, but I think actually for people who are listening and writing about it, I think it's for them to say, look, this takes something that was maybe, you know, embryonic here and realizes it, or, you know, if you don't like it, like this totally betrays the great promise of this or whatever, you know. But I think it's kind of suicide to think too hard about your own work, except the work you're doing. I'm really very into focusing on what I'm doing. Yes, back.
Could you talk some about the inspiration for the animals that are no longer there? I think it was the second to last song, and what those animals were.
That's. I'm not going to go into it, but this is. I'm going to go into it, but this is one of the songs where I was talking about cloaking personal stuff in stories, and that's a personal song, and so there's a little something in there, but I mean, I'm a guy who always mourns the passing of anything, you know. It's like, and I take pleasure in that. I can't. That's not. People like me who like to cry over stuff shouldn't lie about it and pretend that they'd be happy if they had nothing to cry over. We'd be miserable, right? And so, but at the same time, I mean, the animals in there are all animals whose extinction is because of us, right? We showed up, we came down from the trees and promptly began wrecking everything, and some of them I get really sad about because we will not see them again. The golden toad in Costa Rica only occupied a small space and didn't ask for anything from us, but to stay out of his way. But we couldn't do that, so he's gone. And the dodo, of course, we know was too stupid to protect himself against sailors who ate him and didn't even need to. They had food, but he was around and dumb. And then the thylacine, the Tasmanian wolf in the first one, Tasmanian tiger, who's a totem for me, because he was hunted to extinction for no real reason, and there's footage of the last one known to exist. You can go see it online, and he's walking around in circles, and he's the last one there's ever going to be. And people keep thinking they saw him in a backyard or something over the last 80 years or so, but we'll never see him again. And he was a beautiful creature. So it's about loss, you know, and mourning things that you know that have been ruined.
Amazing song.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah.
This is a question for Ryan. You were saying that it was ad hoc camera work for most of the thing. During the Matthew 25 song, though, I saw a lot of, I felt like an homage to David Byrne in Stop Making Sense with the lamb dancing. Was that intentional, or did that just have the accident?
I'm calculating in my mind if I'd sound smarter if I said yes. No, it wasn't intentional. It's a very flattering concert film. But also, I guess we did 2 takes of it on the day, and this was take 2. So there were certain songs where, because we had done take one, I'd been able to feel it out a little bit, and that was one of the more controlled. Anything where we're doing less with the camera, it's probably a little more controlled.
Slow dance between the two.
Yeah.
It's a long song, and so it gives you an opportunity to engage with it more as the filming person, I would think, you know. So
I have another Mountain Goats question.
Yeah.
Okay. This popped into my head. I don't know if this is my place to ask questions, but
Yes, no, go for it.
okay.
Ryan Johnson and
Yes.
John Darnielle in conversation.
That's right. I should have a cigarette and be like a 50s.
Like a pipe.
Yeah. Well, on your earlier stuff, and I've heard you talk a little bit about the immediacy of the recording. Like you would write a song and literally pull the boombox over and record it right then and there. Do you still do that with your songs, even just like to demo? And if you don't, does that change it?
I use a laptop now or my phone, but it's the same thing.
You do the same thing?
Yeah. It's as soon as there's one difference with the digital piano I have, and that's that it has a button that can save the song as I'm playing. I can record.
Like a MIDI?
No, it's I don't. Well,
it records your voice, or is it?
No, it only records the piano, but I can record whatever I'm playing, and it'll save it, which is awesome because, like I say, I'm better at piano than guitar. And so I don't know how to notate some of the stuff I can do on piano. Like writing G won't do it. I even know what the chord is sometimes, but other times I don't. But this thing will save it. But it's still very much, I have to get it down instantly, or I'll forget, or I'll get distracted. Actually, last year when I was doing the Black Pear Tree thing, I went back to tape and started recording into the same professional cassette recorder that I used for a lot of the Corners Gambit. I was recording the stuff on the Khaki EP. I was going back to tape for. By the way, since we did 2 takes, I think it would be awesome if people claimed to have inside knowledge that the other take was totally better.
It's the golden take.
I deputized you all to go out and say, oh yeah, no, the first take was really where all the action was. Second take is always. So.
I have it on video to set in my closet somewhere in Florida somewhere.
Yes.
Sort of harking back to what you were saying about your mother-in-law. As a whole, it's such a hopeful album. And it's sort of like there's all this biological frailty about being a human being.
Yeah.
There's so much hope shining through that. I'm wondering where that hope came from.
Boy, that's a great question. Because I spent a lot of the last year or so really struggling to feel hopeful about stuff. Really. Look, I have lousy boundaries, so I have a tendency to say stuff that makes people uncomfortable and is really intimate. So I apologize if it's been making people nervous and stuff. But I mean. Some crippling depression in my life over the past year or so, and you can barely get up. But I've always been a person who manages to find something good in something, and that's just sort of, and that's, I don't take any credit for that. It's not like I can tell people, yes, well, you should be like me, because that's just how I'm made. Is like I manage to find something, and so I don't think I'm actually capable of writing the goth album I should love to write, where or the great suicidal black metal record where everything is just completely hopeless. I don't think I have it in me, because I do feel at the end of the day, look, we live in a world with good food and people we can love, and that's in the win column, and it's a big enough win that no matter how horrible things get, you can find that little, even on a day when I can't say that I really even believe that. I know it's true, and so that's, I think, where that comes from. Yeah.
I was reading a press release where you were talking about how you listen to a lot of Christian folk.
Yeah. Or Christian rock, really. Pop, yeah.
I just want to know, what you took from that, listening to that kind of music that's often overlooked by
tremendous comfort, I have to say. I spent last year listening to Amy Grant, just constantly listening to Amy Grant. And at the end of the Khaki tour, I rewarded myself for making it through by flying out to Eastern Tennessee to see her live in this tiny little theater in a town called Greenville in Tennessee. She was doing the 20-year anniversary of her Lead Me On album, which is, if you're into Amy Grant, as I'm sure many of you are, it's just classic Amy Grant record, maybe the best one, and she was playing the whole thing. It was so awesome. Amy Grant is like the locus of it for me, because if you don't know her story, she was 16 when she met this guy, Brown Bannister, who she wound up marrying, who was also a producer, and he groomed her for success from the time she was 16. They got married and they worked together, and her fame as it gathered. I mean, fame is an intense thing. You see it happening to people you know. It's like it gets this momentum of its own. And a person who has it in them to be famous, genuinely not like me, like really famous, a thing comes on them. It's really like a creature or a spirit, and she had it. She had that drive. She had that vision to sustain it. I mean, it's so much work. It's 7 days a week. It's stuff that people. I mean, it really is very intense. I couldn't do it. And she got famous. It was very validating for the born again the audience that this person was actually penetrating into mainstream, still singing about Jesus. And then she starts making secular records. There was a huge backlash. A lot of people started hating on her very, very heavily. And then she divorced her husband and married a guy she'd been touring with, Vince Gill. Right? If you go onto YouTube, you can find such incredible, horrible, misogynistic venom to this day being spilled out on Amy Grant. Right? I mean, there's people who just say hateful, horrible things about her, and I thought, what an intense thing to have your whole public life and all that revolve around something as private as your spirituality, and have all that tied in with, and the fact that she has any balance and can still perform beautifully and sing so well, and had the balls to say, well, I'm going to make secular records if I feel like it, and I'm going to go back to making Christian records if I feel like it. Big inspiration to me. Tried to get her to sing on the record, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Is there ever going to be another extra film?
I listened to it this morning. The band is called The Extra Lens now. We lost the G. But that's true. And it's in the cans, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. But, of course, me having my preferences, I would think it would be great to never release it, and to have people calling for its release, and have me and Franklin saying, no, it's better for history if we don't, and I know from experience then that if we didn't do that, when somebody finally stole it and said, then they would praise it to the skies and say it was great because it never got released. So, but yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm just so focused on this, but we have an unmastered, 90%, 95% ready to fly record at some point. Anything else, or should we all go eat? Oh, yeah.
I know it's a ridiculous task for 2 questions, but
it's cool.
Could you sing a couple of bars from Mario?
No, I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing tonight.
I will. Second question.
Yeah.
Was this performance done after the recording was finished?
Yeah. The album was done. I sent it to Ryan.
Is it more similar to the demos or to the recording process afterwards? In other words, how did your songs change within that period?
Well, in the demos, this is pretty raw. We left mistakes in, but in the demos, like there's the one I hesitated most to. There's the Rough Trade shop in London is selling a version of the album tomorrow that comes with the demos, right? And then they will hit the internet promptly, and then everybody can enjoy them. But the one I was really hesitant to include was Matthew 25:27, which I demoed on the floor of a hotel room in Northampton, Massachusetts. And the song was very fresh, although I'd been working on the lyric for the better part of a year, and. But I finally got it all stitched together, and I was trying to record it during the time when Brandon was my tour manager and right-hand man over there, Brandon Eggleston, also producer of a third of the record. When Brandon was out, I think, getting guitar strings, I was like, I want to get this song done. It was a very hard song for me to sing. And so I'm singing along, and my eyes are closed, and I'm going into this horrible vision of what it was like to fly home and see Nancy. And I said, find the Harbor Freeway, and head north. I automatically say north, but it's actually south, right? So I correct myself, and I was amused instead of sad. I go, or south, right? And it really, for a moment, it takes the mood of the song that's developing and puts it into what making a demo is like, which is sort of trying to focus on the raw materials of something and at the same time feel it. And I was hesitant because the song's so special to me, and I don't want people to to think that like that's some kind of reveal moment or anything. But yeah, so the demos are like this, you know, except that no one's with me when I'm demoing, so I'm completely comfortable, you know. It's like so. Yeah.
If you could cover any Amy Grant song, what would it be?
Well, it's a funny question because one of
Baby.
No, I wouldn't do Baby Baby. I mean, I like My Father's Eyes a lot, but I also like, she has some songs that she covers. She has a Jimmy Webb song called If These Walls Could Speak, which is incredible. She does a Rich Mullins song called Nothing Is Beyond You. Completely incredible. If you guys don't know Rich Mullins, if you have a tolerance for some Christian music, that guy was such an incredible songwriter, an incredible human being too. But I think Nothing Is Beyond You would be high up there. But then this other one from her album it's supposed to be an album of traditional hymns. I didn't recognize any of them, but I'm Catholic, so. But there's one called Imagine. I suspect it can't be that. But it was a really amazing song that was the only thing I listened to before going on stage for about a year. It followed. Usually I'll have one song that I listen to before going on stage. You know, you get your own personal little get in the mood to get on stage. And for one tour it was Easy E, a song called Real Motherfucking G's. And the next tour it was Amy Grant, Imagine / Sing the Wondrous Love of Jesus. And so, but yeah, one of those I think. Yeah.
Any thoughts of doing anything else with film, either scores or having your own stuff?
Man, I think I would give up a toe to do film scores. I think I really, especially to work with horror directors. I mean, there's the thing about me in film. I'll watch Rian's movies, and I will watch horror movies and documentaries, right? But the types of movies that the dudes who make the kind of music that I make generally score, I think everybody can just feel it coming off of it. I don't watch those movies. You know, this is one of my favorite stories. We were on tour. We had a sound guy who a nice fellow, but nobody really saw eye to eye with him. And at one point he asked me this question, you know, John, has it been in your experience to have seen the film? That was exactly how he phrased it. Has it been in your experience to have seen the film? And I forget what movie it was, he said. And I sat there and I said, let me ask you a question. Does this movie have a guy in a hockey mask cutting up teenagers? And he said, no. Then I didn't see it. And that's kind of true, but I would love to do that. And of course, I mean, the thing that I like, and this shows you why I will never own a mansion, I want to work with a choreographer so bad it costs me sleep. I want to work with the Trisha Brown Dance Company. I want to write for dance, because to me, dance is the art form that when I watch it, I am an acolyte. I mean, it's like I can't even describe to you what goes on for me emotionally when I'm watching dance. And so I would love to have something to do with that. I'm looking to do other stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that, excuse me, filming this was the first time you were back in that auditorium?
No. I went to school there. I've been back into there. Yeah.
Okay.
I just had one more question for Ryan. I was curious, what fascinated you in John's music? Can you give some background on why you decided to do this?
Well, I years and years ago, I've been listening to the Mountain Goats. I was a fan of John's a long time before I actually got the chance to meet him and to do a music video and then do this with him. So, and he's close your ears, John, for a second. He's my favorite lyricist next to Dylan. I mean, he's okay. You can look him, take him out now. So I said I was Dylan. I did. I said and his music has always been something really personal and precious to me. So when this kind of random, actually, you remember the random circumstances that led to us actually kind of meeting up. I was wearing, I had, for a brief period, you sold Last Plane to Jakarta t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I actually got one. And
that was how, it was involved in that, and it was a weird thing because people will sometimes find my email address, email me while I'm on tour. Your chances of getting an answer from me when I'm touring are very, very, very slim because tour is a weird environment, and and sometimes I'm really emotionally unwell on tour, and so it's like I don't want to So yeah, at some point he had written to me like right after a Knitting Factory show.
It was a Halloween show here in New York at the
Yeah,
Knitting Factory a few years ago, and John, I snapped this awesome photo during the show of John like rocking out in his priest outfit, like with the cross.
Oh,
and
right.
everything. And the crowd, somebody was throwing the horns in the crowd, and I emailed it to you. And I said,
Right.
just enjoy it. I didn't know, I just enjoyed the
So
show.
I don't remember having seen it at first. If I remember correctly, I was pretty drunk after that show, so I probably read it and went to sleep.
I think I got a quick little lead. That's a cool photo.
Maybe. Yeah, that's right. Because so then I go see this movie Brick that Ryan made at the Varsity Cinema in Chapel Hill. And completely awesome movie. And I'm sitting there going, that was so cool. And I'm one of those dudes who hangs around through the end credits. And I'm watching it. And it goes, music by the Hospital Bombers Experience. Wait, what? Wait. Honey. She said, no, I told you, because my wife tells me things that I forget, And she said, no, I told you, that guy wrote to you. Oh, yeah, did I write him back? I don't know. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, there he is. And I wrote, hey, dude, I just saw your movie. So it was like a slow process of a couple of years.
But yeah, it's family ones. And for me, this was cool also, just because I got a private Mountain Goats concert, so.
With the dude from, what was that movie, The Life Aquatic? Running sound.
The guy who did sound for the last movie I did, The Brothers Bloom, we got him here to record the sound. He's also does sound for Wes Anderson. He's in The Life Aquatic. He's the sound recordist. He's Pavel. So
I told him to tell Wes that he could have improved his movie a great deal if there'd been a guy with a hockey mask, maybe just slashing up Bill Murray and stuff and chasing him. And, I thought that would be awesome. That's my version. Yeah.
So obviously you guys put in a fair amount of time and effort doing this. Are there any plans for further distribution or?
Well, it's hard to say because I don't know how to break this to you. Nobody buys DVDs. And there's a funny thing about saying that is you don't want people to get the impression well, I won't release it, I can't make money, but you can't release something and lose a whole lot of money, right? And so if you put a DVD into production, then there's a whole lot of outlay, and so it's hard. I would like to see it on DVD, but I like to talk about limited runs and stuff like that, but then you have to increase the per unit prices. All very exciting stuff, I know. But so yeah, there has been talk back and forth. But then the other thing is I'm always focused on whatever I'm doing next, and we did this, and so it's always hard for me to say, well, then we'll put something into print that already happened.
I think there's been talk about just getting it out there on the internet.
Yeah, there's a strong possibility.
I'd be happy with. If a good quality version was just out there, and
yeah,
people could download it and have it.
Yeah. Yes.
I was fortunate enough to have originally found your music through an epigraph, a young adult novel.
Oh, and John Green.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you were aware of the fact that you now have a sizable fan base from the ages of 14 to 19.
The Nerdfighters, yes, sir. I forget how, I think I heard about it and wrote to him, and then they sent me a copy of Paper Tens, which I just read last month, and he's awesome, and I know that he's personally awesome because I totally sent him the album 2 months before it came out, and he did not make it, and so it was great. So yeah, that's the best thing as a musician is when you can find somebody who hears you, who introduces your stuff to people who aren't likely to hear it otherwise. Because music is such a there's so much subcultural stuff involved that often it's very hard to reach people who don't listen to indie rock or who don't listen to whatever other genre you have. And so that's really awesome. Yeah.
So the song Bride, at one point during...
Which song?
Bride.
Oh, Bride.
You gave it away at some point. I was just wondering, at one point during the Life of Music sessions or brainstorming or whatever, that came about and what the point was abandoned?
God, I don't even remember when or where I wrote that song. And it was just sort of when I wrote it, I was sort of it felt like part of some other piece, and I didn't, and I wanted to share it right away because I liked the chorus.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have you thought about writing another book?
I'm working on another book.
Yeah.
it's taken me a long time and it's driving me crazy. Because normally when I write my songs, if it's not done by the end of the day, I'm not going to finish it. You know, with a book, you can't take that kind of attitude. It's super crazy, right? So it's hard to find the time to work on it, and I've had a lot of changes with it, but eventually, yeah. Man? Oh wait, she was yawning. Yeah.
Sorry to, again.
That's okay.
Past issues, but you collaborated with Aesop Rock.
Yeah.
This album, Past. Is that something that, who initiated that contact? Is that something you consider doing in the future again?
I don't remember who it was. I mean, I think I met him at actually the Halloween Knitting Factory show. I'm pretty sure he was there and introduced himself. I think people had told me Aesop Rock is in your music, and I was like, awesome. And yeah, there is talk of more stuff. Yeah, we have talked. I've got to hopefully at some point, because I love his music. So, all right, thanks everybody for coming.
Or anything? Am I signing stuff? Is that part of the deal? Okay, so I'll be back then.